Doug Franklin here with you again with the teacher prep video number 4. We're near the finish line, folks. I hope this has been a really great study and that your students have really connected with this idea that God doesn't want a bunch of activity from us. He wants a relationship with us. He wants us to act justly. He wants us to do what's right. He wants us to have a hunger and a thirst for righteousness. I think he also wants us to love mercy, to actually love caring for people and showing them the same mercy that he has shown us, and how important it is for us to focus on what God has done for us so that we are motivated to love others and to show mercy to them. And then finally, to walk humbly with God, to really walk in step with him and to allow him to lead us, and for us to say, he is in charge. That's the humility part. He is in charge and we are following him. So desperately, we want to be in charge of our own lives, don't we? So desperately, we want to be the ones who say what we should do and how it should go. But God says that's what he does and that we need to follow him. And so when we act, love, and walk, we are being disciples of God. We are being disciples of Christ. And so finally, we're ending on this fourth session. Here's where we really want to be able to share Christ. We really want to connect this idea of what's in this lesson back to what Jesus has done for us. And so we hone back in on loving mercy, because Jesus, in his great love for us when he climbed up on the cross and died for us, showed the ultimate sign of mercy for us. He died for us in our place when we did not deserve it. And that is the great act of mercy. We also realize that students, probably with these three things, mercy is going to be one of the hardest things for them to deal with. So we're going to go back and we're going to look at that, and we want to tie this idea of mercy to Jesus and allow them to really understand that he has loved us so much that he has died for us, and that is why we should show mercy. So again, great questions to talk about after the large group. Make sure you hit those questions and allow students to take their learning and their thinking from the large group session where they're just processing in a group to being able to ask good questions of you and have dialogue with you, someone who is discipling them to help them understand what it means for their life. And then there is the second look. This is my favorite one in the whole thing, because this is about Mr. T. you gotta go over this part with students. You know, Mr. T was known for his outrageous behavior, in his remember all of his gold chains around his neck. Well, Mr. T was also a Christ follower, and actually he was a minister of the gospel in Chicago. And after he saw what happened at Katrina and all the devastation that happened there, Mr. T did something incredibly humbling. You know, he took all that jewelry that he wore and he sold it. He doesn't wear it anymore. He sold it and gave the money to the poor in New Orleans. And it's something that he did because of his love for Christ. And he showed incredible faithfulness and humbleness in doing it. It's a great lesson for our students. I think a lot of our students will know who Mr. T is. I pity the fool. You know that guy? This act, he took the very thing that described him, all this bling and jewelry, and he sold it so that he could be obedient to God. And that's a great second look for us to look at here. In the Going Deeper section, there's some great passages. Jesus talked often about blessed are those that are merciful. Look at that passage and really begin to understand in our lives what that's all about and how we connect with Christ when we're merciful. When we act like him, when we're following him, we act with mercy. And then this lesson ends with the coolest live it out section. It's this sign activity, this road sign activity. And we show students a bunch of road signs and we ask them, what would these road signs mean in their spiritual life? This will go well with the videos that we've also given you to use for this lesson as well too. And here's where you get down to the nitty-gritty of where they're at in their spiritual life. You can use these road signs. You can use your time that you've spent with them over the last couple of days to ask some really hard questions. Be very curious. Don't think you know where students are at. Ask them questions and discover and help them discover where they're really at. And then it's a great time to make some applications, to really hunker down and say, okay, what do we need to do to grow forward from where we are? These road signs can then be reminders to them whenever they see them when they're traveling or when they're driving to school or anywhere where they're going, that God loves them. There's signs everywhere that Jesus Christ loves you And you can use these signs to remind them that God is with you wherever you go, and He wants you to grow with Him. Boy, I know it's a challenge for all of us as small group leaders too, to act, to love, and to walk. And hopefully this time has been an encouragement in your spiritual life as well too. I hope you've made some applications and some new commitments to follow Christ. Let us together act, love, and walk as we serve Jesus. Thanks for your time and thanks for your service.